Beep boop 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 doop boop boop beep boop 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 beep beep boop 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 beep 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 boop. Yep. Welcome to Top Tier Sim, the game mode in Sim that plays almost completely identical to the way RB plays. Like, in all honesty, if you understand how RB works with Top Tier, guess what? That's more or less exactly the way Sim works. You fly around, you stick close to the deck, you launch missiles at things, and yeah, that's pretty much it. You crash into terrain, pretty much almost identical. But anyways, with the oldie new update, the Sons of Attila update, the one that added Hungary to the Italian tech tree, we also got the F-16C, we got the AIM-9M, and we got a helmet-mounted display for the F-16. And overall, between the two planes that got added to top tier, the F-16C is clearly the better option, because in Gaijin's Infinite Wisdom they've done three things. They've added the AIM-9M, they've added the R-73, and then they nerfed the shit out of the MiG-29 flight model. So previously, the meta for top tier was it favored the US side. The US side was a little bit better. The 9L, especially after the drag nerfs to the R60s and all the other missiles, the 9L was kind of like the thing to have. But with the way the F-16 flight model was implemented, with the way they kind of did the G limiter, and with the way the 29 flight model was, like the 29 had a lot of tools to work with, and it had like a really good chance. In all honesty, when it came to top tier stuff, before this update, I heavily favored the MiG-29. I thought it was a more interesting plane to fly. The weaponry wasn't quite as good. It wasn't quite as reliable, with the exception of being the R-27ER. But the meta at top tier is kind of settled into the same thing as RB. You fly on the deck, you point your plane at other planes, you shoot the missile, and then hopefully you fly away. If you get into a dogfight, if you go up, if anyone notices it, if it's a reasonably crowded server, or if it's Tunisia, which is just a little bit too small for top tier games outside of like 2v2s, you're gonna eat the third party missile. You're gonna eat the AIM-7F. You're gonna eat the R-27ER. You're gonna eat the Phoenix that was launched from the very back of the map at the basically as soon as the F-14 took off, because that's a thing too. Don't get me wrong, beyond visual range engagements do exist within Sim, but they're not nearly as reliable as just YOLOing around on the deck and shooting heat-seeking missiles at people. And for a plane to just YOLO around on the deck and shoot heat-seeking missiles at other people, the F-16C is pretty dang good at it, and the AIM-9M is the best missile for launching at random bozos. And just after my initial impressions on kind of like the first day of the patch, at this point I've played both of the new planes. I have all of the fancy missiles. The meta is currently very strongly in favor of the US side of the matchmaker, because with the changes to the MiG-29 flight model, with the fact that the AIM-9M is, I'm going to say that for Sim it is better than the R-73. The fact that you don't have a smoke trail coming out of your plane when you shoot means that other players are not nearly as aware of you. There's also just the fact that like the F-16, the visual signature of the F-16 in Sim is significantly smaller than the MiG-29. It is a lot easier to just kind of sit and hide around in the F-16, and people don't notice you as quickly. And when you do get stuck in the dogfight with the F-16, you went from being favored to win against the 29. You could just raid around them and you're generally okay, to being heavily favored to win, because what Gaijin has done is they've upped the G limit on the old F-16s, so they have better initial turns, and they have made the MiG-29 lose a shit ton of energy at high speeds. Like, if you turn the MiG-29 and you are going fast, you are going to find yourself going very slow very quickly. This means that you are incredibly vulnerable to third-party missiles, and you don't have that initial turn where you could really quickly get behind an F-16C, you could really quickly get behind the F-16As. Like, you can't, like, the 29s can't do that anymore. And with the R-73, with the better missile, it helps, but it kind of just brings it back to more or less the same level of effectiveness that it was before. At least that is my take. Now, as things progress and as the game continues, people might adapt to the new flight models, or Gaijin might just change the flight models again. They might make the F-16s worse as well. But currently on opening day, 29 kind of sucks. It's not bad. The kit's good, but the FM is just, it is not it. And the 9M with TWS makes finding people a lot easier, and you just launch missiles at them. They cannot do a lot about them now. With the implementation of the 9M, it is flareable. It is, if you know that it's coming, you can defeat it, unless if it's from like a rear aspect shot and it's close enough, it's probably not likely. Side aspect is pretty rough, but if you're just flying this plane around and launching 9Ms at people, you're going to just waddle yourself into like a 2-to-1 KD, like with no training, no idea what you're doing. Like, you could just turn the radar off, find every MiG-29 that's on the enemy team, and just shoot 9Ms at them, and there you go. You have probably the most effective strategy for top tier sim right now. And that's kind of like what these early clips are. They're just kind of like just showing like this is more or less how you could fly this thing. And there's really, I have played with the 7Fs. I have experimented with them. The radar on this thing is a little bit harder to notch than the other ones, but the player base has adapted to flying around on the deck, and especially on flat maps like Denmark, a 7F is not going to be really all that useful. But on other maps, bigger maps like Afghanistan, where you're kind of like, you're in mountainous terrain and people might go up, and the terrain forces people to not be on the deck sometimes, you could probably get some utility out of the 7Fs, and the same goes for the R-27ERs. But as you see right here, we just fly in on the deck, his missile hits the ground, and we shot a heat seeker in his face. As we go past, like, the big thing with the F-16, the other like huge improvement is you have twice as many countermeasures as you did before. You have, I think, 120, which means that you just kind of go around and you get a little bit scared, so you just put some flares out. And the way the RWR works now is like it beeps at you all the time. It tells you to flare. I think that the missile warning system is literally only for radar missiles when you're radar locked. I haven't tested it in depth, but that is what my assumption is. But at the same time, as I get warnings and it tells me to flare, I'm hitting the flare button because, like, I have enough. I'm not really being conservative with it. And then with the digital RWR, it tells you what planes are where, and it tells you like what's in front of you, what's behind you. Like, I can look at my RWR and go, okay, cool, I got a MiG-21 behind me. I'm flying towards an F-16. So if I make a right turn here, I can go towards the 21, which is like what I end up doing. But we cut out the kill because it's going to be exactly the same. You fly in, track a guy, shoot a missile at him, then he dies. Same thing here, aim 9M. Even with the radar lock, he's looking for the 7F. He does not see the 9M, and those smokeless motors, they go pretty damn hard. Now, just because the aim 9Ms go pretty hard doesn't mean that they're completely impossible to defeat. This is going to be like the one good dogfight I had against a MiG-29. We try to start with a head-on missile, and he's pre-flaring, so we don't get the lock. We're going to switch to HMD. We're going to loop over. We're going to try to go for a second missile. We're going to try to go for the head-on missile. This is a pretty solid, pretty standard opening. He's going to shoot his missile at basically the same time as ours. We're both flaring. He uses a lot more of his flares. He goes for a shot. I have dodged out of the way, but I have lost a lot of speed. My plane is we are on the struggle bus right now. Like, I'm doing 250. I'm like basically stalled out. This is a situation where the MiG-29 should like pretty easily win, and if it was the old flight model, I think that it would. But this guy's gonna go over the top. We're gonna bait for a shot, and he shoots out just underneath us. We're gonna use our air brake. We're gonna try to get him to overshoot. He overshoots just underneath of us. We got the radius here. We got the guns, and we just burn and we shoot him out of the sky. And And that's the best kill that I've had in the F-16C. Like that looked pretty fucking cool. It looked cool enough that the dude's like, holy shit in the chat. And I do feel kind of bad for him because that was kind of nasty. But overall, the F-16 FM, when you turn the damping off, I've tested it. You can pull around 50 degrees AOA, like, and I want to say it's around 600 kph. Like, you can rock that nose really hard. Now, do you want to do that? Most situations, no. You just fly it around. You launch the 9M, and then you fly away. You look at TWS. You look at your radar screen. You're like, oh, hey, I got some guys coming towards me. I got some guys going away from me. This looks like a lot of people, and we're just gonna try to play around. Now, guys like this, guys that are popped up like this, it's kind of risky to spike for them because a lot of times you go a little bit too high and you eat their missile because they're shooting down at you. Another guy, like the guy down just below him, was already trying to shoot at us. We merge, and we're going to start turning. As we bleed speed, we're going to go in for the secondary, the head-on missile if we can get it. We get the head-on. He passes again. And we're back in we're doing the one circle, the one circling, and then we're gonna switch it up and we're gonna be going 2 circles. Oh yeah, we're doing the rate, and then we go nose to nose again. It's a 1 circle and the red circle, the blue circle, and all the motherfucking circles. But even at these low speeds here with the new 29 FM, like this used to be kind of like death for the F-16 because like the 29 could really just point around at low speed. You didn't have the option to the same extent. You could get away with a lot, but if a 29 came in and he came in real fast and he did the right things, he had a good chance. That is kind of no longer the case. Again, looking to the left, we get the flare, we get the missile, we turn into this guy, goes over the top, dodge another missile, and we almost completely lose sight of him. Now, one of the things that Gaijin did mess up again is spotting is really bad now. Like, really bad. But we can see the contrails, we can see the engine smoke. This guy's trying to go away. He probably lost sight of us. But he knows we're tracking him now. And the 9M connects. Pretty good. Especially from, it's a pretty good missile, especially from rear aspect. Now, aside from the MiG-29 getting a flight model nerf, this whole new series of missiles really power creeps things in a way that is not so good for everyone that doesn't have an F-16, to be honest. Planes like the MiG-21 are kind of irrelevant when they're stuffed into top tier. Stuff like the Viggen is kind of so-so now. The F-14B is going to be good. The F-14A is still going to be the 14A. They have all the good missiles on their team. And like, this meta is like so clearly defined that by like the difference between the number of people playing, like when patch came out in the morning on each side was pretty much more or less even, where by the time that I played it like in the evening, it was back to being like 2/3 USA. Like the player base was very quick in figuring out that, hey, one of these planes is better and this other one is kind of ass. We merge with another 29, we don't get the missile off. We loop over and just at 50% throttle, we're trying to bleed a lot of speed because he's going to bleed a lot of speed, and we want to be just inside of him. We want to try to get that second missile off. We want to get into a good maneuvering speed range. We have already overshot that. We're like sitting at basically 60% throttle. But just look how much speed this guy loses when he turns. He's going down, and by the time he gets ready to pitch back up, he's just going to be at a complete standstill. And that is not something that would have happened in the previous iterations of the 29 FM. Like, this guy's gone. He's dead. He can't do anything. And to me, that's rather unfortunate because like the 29 versus 16 balance, specifically because of the way the 29 FM was reasonable. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed using the 29 to dogfight 16s. You can't really do that anymore. Or you can, because like gaps in player skill do exist, gaps in knowledge still exist, but like the level of skill checking that an F-16 has to do to win a dogfight against a MiG-29 is basically non-existent. This guy comes in, He shoots a missile, we flare it. He is outside the turning circle. He puts his smoke on. Really nice of him to do that for us. He overshoots. And we're just going to be kind of like changing shots here. Like, this guy's actually, he's doing a reasonably decent job. Like, he is trying a lot harder than most people in EC do. And because of that, he is going to get a couple shot opportunities. Now, in the old situation, when we went nose to nose like that, he would have been able to whip that around a little bit quicker and be able to get the first shot. But because of the FM change, he's going to be really slow. We're going to try to queue up the HMD missile to maybe get him in a head-on with that. But we just switched to guns, and we hit him. He doesn't hit us. He's going really slow. We're going really slow. We're just going to try to accelerate away, try to get away for a bit. But we notice he doesn't go down, and we're just going to queue up the 9M, and then rear aspect. It's kind of like it's over once it's rear aspect 9M. He doesn't see it, and he explodes. That's it. He's exploded. If you look at the fights that I posted earlier, you'll see that I kind of fly the F-16 a lot like the way I used to fly the 29. I go very aggressive on back pressure on the stick. I bleed a lot of speed, and I try to cut into the guys that I'm fighting basically as soon as possible. With the F-16, I think you do benefit from managing your speed a little bit better. It does turn a little bit better at higher speeds, and you really don't want to be in a position where you find yourself really slow. At the same time, though, you want to go aggressive so you can end these fights sooner. Otherwise, being in a perpetual rate fight, looking out the top of your cockpit at a guy at equal position, it just isn't the play. The longer these fights go on at top tier, the more likely you are to have a second guy come in. So sacrificing some of your rate speed in order to pull angle for a shot is generally, that's generally what I do. This guy comes in. This guy came in basically as soon as the other guy was dead, and that's what I mean. Like, you don't have a lot of opportunity to really plan out like a real well-rounded rate fight. But this guy came in, he merged bad, we reacted good enough, we're going to be more or less behind him, and as long as we can get him out of the way before we get third-partied, we're chilling. Now, in reality, a lot of the gameplay that I showed earlier is the way that you should play the F-16C, or any plane at top tier. You should just kind of stay fast, shoot missiles at people that don't see you coming, and then fly away. But I like gun kills, so that's what I like to do. This guy's dead, but we already know that the first guy that we killed is going to probably come back, so we're going to point our nose down and just kind of accelerate away. We got a 29 in front of us, we're going to put him behind us, and we're just going to run back towards friendlies, and then we can reset and start all over again. Anyways, that's kind of my initial impression with the F-16C. It's definitely the best plane that's been added to the game, at least with this patch. If they change the flight models for the 29s, they can be competitive again, but right now, top tier sim is going to be heavily favored to be more or less US player or NATO player dominated, and that is kind of unfortunate. Anyways, if you like content like this, if you want to see more sim videos, give me a like, give me a subscribe, give me some comments. I'm usually pretty good about responding to them because I have a grand total of 50 subscribers, but there might be more in the future.